Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Woo, here we are. Yahoo! Take a moment to stretch if you need to. Come to this space. Remembering that in moments, this is my own remembering this morning. I woke up pretty tense. And remembering that in those moments of tension, we can always come back to our breath. So this morning, just taking a couple of good deep breaths, and maybe just looking out at what you can take in from your vantage point, and breathing, remembering that that calms your vagus nerve, and you can use that at any time. You can calm yourself with your breath. In this centering, we're going to open to new ideas, new possibilities, and I'm looking forward to that today, very much so. So there are some resources, again, posted in this week's module for you, extra, explorations that you can take, so please take advantage of those. In addition, there is the extra credit movie that will be shown tonight with Christine. Yay, Christine! Thank you for doing that with them. And I'm sure it'll be a great conversation. So that's an opportunity for you. Also, it might seem counterintuitive. We don't use phones or technology in the classroom, the handheld technology, and yet I'm telling you about these things, the class Instagram and the website. These are resources for you, ways of connecting if you so choose. And I encourage you to do so if you're interested. You can jot these down, particularly the website. There's a lot of good information on there about getting outside and places to do that, places to explore. And so I encourage you to check those out. I am not anti-technology. I'm all for the use of appropriate technology for connection. So that's why I mention these things. I hope that you find them useful. So this is where we were on Monday, talking about speciesism. The idea that because non-human animals are not human, their interest in their lives matters less than our interest in our lives. The idea that they aren't as important as we in the lives that they live. So this can be a real internal struggle. And that's what it's about, right? Being conscious, being aware, making choices. And one of the outcomes that I hope by bringing up these topics is this. I'm calling for uncommon decency, respect that comes from awareness. Kathy Burnham Martin wrote this in her book that was entitled Encouragement: How to Be and Find the Best. So just opening our awareness to possibilities, opening to connections that we might not have seen before. And speaking of which, today is our class about insects, connecting with insects. So as you look up there at this fantastic array of insects, I would like to have a debate. I would like to I'm going to put out the statement, insects are beautiful. And I want you to debate it. Who wants to say something about that statement? Insects are beautiful. Go. Okay, not much debate on that one. Oh, there's somebody. Okay, good.
I definitely think some insects are beautiful. Like if you look at like butterfly wings or like dragonflies, I don't know that I would say all.
Okay, why not?
Um, n- okay, beautiful to me, like not in general, but just like there are certain insects that really disgust me, like cockroaches.
Mm,
I like, I don't think they're beautiful. I think they're ugly, but
okay,
in the eye of the beholder.
in the eye of the beholder, right. Okay, any other insects are beautiful statement? There's somebody over here, Ellie.
I agree. It's kind of like in the eye of the beholder, and kind of everyone has these different ideas. I mean, I think most bugs are beautiful, and I think it's really cool because so many they can do so many different things. I was in Pittsburgh yesterday, and I don't know,
Oh,
probably a lot of people know it's like infested with these light bugs that you'll find them all over the city. But even though they're kind of like an invasive species, it's really cool because they like light up everywhere. And I don't know. I'm from Texas, so I don't see a lot of those. So I don't know.
you saw them yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow,
Yeah. They're
interesting.
all over everywhere.
Huh,
Yeah.
all over it. Wow, okay, cool. Hmm, interesting. Thank you for saying so. How about the statement, insects are gross? Who wants to say something about that? There's somebody up front. Oh, okay, just hang tight a second. Yeah. There's someone up front here, Allie. Yeah.
I think I agree with this one more. And like as someone was saying over there, like a roach, like that's gross. And like flies, I associate with like trash. Like when I see a big pile of trash, all you see is like flies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, kind of gross.
Kind of gross. Okay, good examples. Yeah. Anybody else want to say anything about insects are gross? There's someone up there if you, Hannah's.
I tend not to think like insects themselves are gross. I think like I try not to kill bugs. So I think killing them is what grosses me out, like all their guts and stuff. Like that part grosses me out, but bugs themselves, like being, aren't gross to me, I think.
Okay, okay, good distinction. I think that is important. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
I would say that I agree with this statement too because mosquitoes are like a big one. They just go to different people and stick their thing and take blood and then just hop to the next person. Like that's how like diseases and stuff get spread, like the Zika virus carrying and everything. So I think that's like the main argument as to how bugs are disgusting.
Got it. That is, yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. They're doing what they do, and yet from our perspective, can be gross. All right, so now looking up at this screen, I want you to create two questions. Like, what makes you curious about the images on the screen? Just write them down in your journal. Two things that make you curious. Maybe. Or maybe you can see them a little better. Curiosity is a cool way of connecting. So when we open our curiosity to things, right, understanding that these are arthropods, that's their scientific family. It's the largest phylum in the animal kingdom. Arthropods includes lobsters, crabs, spiders, mites, insects, centipedes, and millipedes. About 84% of all known species of animals belong in the group of arthropods. In the world, of those, 900,000 types, species of insects are known. So arthropods, body segments, as you look up here, you can see very clearly there's the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. It's easiest to see, on these giant beetles. But even the smallest, like head and then itty bitty thorax and then an abdomen, they all have 3 parts in their body. They all have an exoskeleton that protects them, not internal bones. They're all cold-blooded, which means that not that they're cold all the time, but that they get their temperature, they're ectotherms. They get their temperature from outside. And so when you look at these and you can create some curiosities around them, this one I think is just fascinating, right? How cool is that? The camouflage that these have. So curiosity can help us to look a little bit closer, to investigate. There are ways that help us to enhance our curiosity, going back to the technology. iNaturalist or Seek, 2 different apps that you can get to help you explore the natural world. When you have those questions, mostly the, oh my gosh, what is that question? It could be trees or mushrooms. It could be flowers. It could be insects. It could be animals. You get a picture and then you submit it to this iNaturalist or Seek, and it will help you to identify them. The information, the data, so you can be anywhere in the world and do this, take those pictures, get the identification, and then all of that data gets uploaded so that scientists can use it. So if you see something unusual, if you see something cool, and then it gets uploaded, then scientists might reply to you and say, oh, it's neat that you saw this there. That's unusual. Or they might say, actually, it's this subspecies of that thing that you saw. And then you can continue to get to learn, and then they do too, right? Lots of scientific research is happening through citizen scientists like you, like me, right? So when you're curious about the natural world, this can be a tool that you can use. And there are lots of these for different things. Birdsong, we'll talk about next week. So getting more in touch with the natural world. So curiosity is a basis for relationship. So this is a Madagascar hissing cockroach, and we are going to, we're going to explore this a little bit more. So here we go. Madagascar hissing cockroach. You can see, there's my hand. We'll put this little fella right here. Try to keep him in the middle. Oh, he's not gonna stick around. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, buddy. I'm gonna move you forward just a little bit. All right, so Madagascar hissing cockroach. What questions come up? What's your curiosity about this creature? Here, we'll try a different strategy. Here he comes. No, it's okay. What questions come up when you check this guy out? And it is a male. Right. Questions? So they're from the island of Madagascar, so usually living in tropical areas. They are frugivores, or they eat decomposing material. So leaves, fruits, and they live in big colonies. They might live in a big rotted log. They can live in the bark under the tree or on the tree, and they're decomposers. So they're gonna help the earth by eating things and then pooping out what is closer to dirt, right? They are wingless, they're flightless, they don't bite. He's using his antennas to explore the world around him. Check out those antennas. One of them is broken because probably he was fighting with a female, or he was fighting with another male over a female. Sometimes they hiss. That's why they have the name Madagascar hissing cockroaches. They have little sphericals on the sides of their body that they can release air through, and that's a way of communicating with the other cockroaches and other animals around, with predators that might be nearby. And so these cockroaches have ways of communicating. They fight over, they fight over females. They also live in groups. They have babies, right? So the babies come out like this. That's coming out of the mother. They appear to be born live, but that's just because they've been held in the egg sac inside the mother's body before they are being released. And so they then end up crawling all around. And maybe you can open that. We have an example of that. Yeah, can you take the lid off? I'm gonna let Sam show you this amazing, cool thing right here. Those are all the babies. They were hatched, not technically born, but they were hatched sometime in the last, I don't know, couple of hours, I guess. And so those are all the little tiny babies in there. So it's a process, right? They can live 5 years or more. They're pretty cool. The males can be extinguished because that's the female down there. She's very flat. The males have kind of these horns on their head. It's hard to see with the angle and the reflection. But he has these bumps up on top of his exoskeleton, not really on his head, but on his exoskeleton, also kind of as armor for when he is battling with other males. So thank you, Assistant Sam. So cockroaches, these are a different breed than what you would see in the cities. They do their thing, these do their thing, very different, even though they're all called cockroaches, very different. So now what's coming up for you about this? Gross or beautiful or something totally different?
All right, 2 questions. First of all, how'd you get those?
Right, they live in the Ag Sciences building. There's a whole tank of them.
Cool.
Yeah.
The second is, why wouldn't he be hissing right now? Like, I feel like this would be a little bit of not like. So does that mean he's calm? Like he's not stressed out?
Relatively, yeah, especially now that he's slowed down. Now we're just hanging out. Like my hand is a little bit cold, so I wonder if that's why he was moving around real fast at the beginning. And now as I'm more nervous or more anxious, my hands are warming up and he is chilling out. So now we're just chill. And yes, sometimes they do hiss in this situation. They actually are very different from individual to individual, depending on how anxious they are.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Other questions? Do they have feelings? That's a great question. Well, they do cockroach things that I don't understand, right? So I know that when you try to take them away from their colony, they get pretty upset, or the physical manifestation changes. The way that they move through the world changes, and I can understand that as being upset. They don't want to be messed with. And so feelings is kind of a hard word. It's just like trees when they were described as having those connections in the forest. These also have connections. Whether we go so far as saying feelings or not, I think that that's a pretty big debate in science right now. So thank you for asking. I know that they get frightened, by the way that they move. I know that they can be still and a little more chill. So I tend to interpret some of that as feelings.
Jen.
Oh, Zach and then Ashley, go ahead. Oh, okay, just yell your question. Right, so setting makes a difference, right? Seeing this outside in its natural environment might be different than seeing it inside or finding one in your kitchen or whatever. So, so setting definitely does make a difference for emotion, our emotions, and how we feel about things. True. Yes.
The Madagascar hissing cockroach looks so different to me from a city cockroach, but they're both cockroaches. So I'm just wondering,
Mhm.
like, what scientifically makes a cockroach a cockroach?
Very good question. And that it's all about the genetics, the DNA, right? So that they're related, just like hawks are put into categories, other birds are put into categories. Vultures, interestingly, are more related to storks than they are to other raptors. So it's all based on DNA and connection. So it's more than just meets the eye, I think. So. Anything else? All right, awesome. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to put him back in his container for me. Thank you. So we'll talk a little bit more about insects. These insects, these mites, or these cockroaches, sometimes, there's more babies in there, sometimes have mites on them. If you find them out in nature, the ones that we have up here do not have mites on them because they've been kept in captivity. But if you were to go outside in Madagascar and find hissing cockroaches, they would have these little beings that are living up in the crevices of them. So it's technically an arthropod living on an arthropod. Those mites help to keep the body of the cockroach clean. So anytime they're like eating or crawling around in that messy, rotten fruit, the mites clean up all the little cracks and crevices of their bodies, since the cockroach can't do it themselves. And they are able to they actually live longer. The cockroaches that have mites live longer than those that don't. It's similar because this is a highly magnified photo of eyelashes, human eyelashes. And at the base, you can see these little, it's kind of hard to see on the big screen for me, but these little knobs at the bottom down here, those are also mites. They're living in your eyelashes right now, your eyelashes, your eyebrows, and they help to keep our eyes healthy. They eat all kind of the dirt and the dust and the stuff that gets stuck in there. Here's another image of them, maybe. There they are, sticking up out of their spaces. So being mites, they're closely related to spiders and ticks, as well as other things. They eat the bacteria that's on the skin, around our eyes. They lay their eggs around the rim of the pore where the eyelash comes out. And their eggs, they don't lay many because one egg can be about the size of 1/3 of the mother's body. You might be comforted to know that they don't have an anus. They don't poop, actually. So they just eat and they have babies and then they die, which is less comforting. And then the cycle continues. And this is happening on our faces. And sometimes geneticists have been able to use whatever breed, whatever species of mites are in my eyelashes, and what's in your eyelashes might be different. And so it can show that we've traveled different routes. Our genetics have traveled different places over time. We can see and figure out human associations that we couldn't see before. So these kind of arthropods. So remembering that we're all from this chain, right? So today we're talking mostly about these insects and this biodiverse group of insects, the living beings that run the world, actually. That's why we spend a whole class period on them. The living beings that run the world. What do I mean by that? So we have the obvious that we think about a lot is the pollinators, right? The pollinators. So without insect pollination, Many of the food plants that we grow in our garden would not be able to complete the pollination process and therefore would not produce fruits and vegetables. And this is true. You may have heard about honeybees and pecan plantations. Like, insects are key, and insect species are currently being very dramatically threatened on our planet by insecticides, by climate change. A lot of things are changing in the world of insects. So the pollination process is really key. That whole process that we talked about with plants sending their babies out into the world can't happen without insects. So that's important to note. We also have insects that aerate the soil. This helps that growing process of plants as well. So the insects that are down under the ground and tunneling around and making all their cool little trails and tunnels, that opens up the soil and loosens it up so that the plant roots can grow and be more free and be more healthy. So this is important. These insects are also breaking down the soil, helping to make the soil richer. Microorganisms down there improving the soil quality. Insects poop, and if 80% of the species on the planet are insects, that insect poop is also nourishing, right? Nourishing the planet. So that happens. And then decomposing. You mentioned the flies, right? This is some flies on something dead. The flies are helping to break this down, right? They're doing their job. It is gross sometimes to watch. It's like flies on Henry's poop, right? They're doing the same thing. They're breaking this down into little bits, and then they'll fly away and then poop it out. And eventually, this rotting thing, right, gets taken care of. So saprophagy is insects or things that eat dead things. So it's just part of that nutrient cycle that we've talked about. And then also the insects themselves die and go back to the planet. Sometimes monarchs, when they're in torpor, that means they're kind of in a sleepy state over the course of their slow time of year. Sometimes they don't survive. And this is a picture from their wintering grounds in Mexico. Their bodies go back to the earth and provide nutrients cycling there. Insects also provide lots of nutrition for other things. Think of all of the things, other animals that eat insects. This is a merlin. It's a type of hawk. I spent a lot of time working with falcons and hawks and eagles and vultures, so I take a lot of my experience from that. But merlins, they're in the falcon family. They're small and they're super fast. And so they catch dragonflies like to-go snacks and eat them on the wing, especially in September when they're in their migration. So snacking, right? All the different things that eat insects, all the different birds, all the different spiders, all of those different food chains that are carried along because of insects. And then there's us and our relationship with insects. Entomophagy is the human use of insects as food. Entomology is the study of insects. Entomophagy is the consumption of insects. 3,000 ethnic groups around the world practice entomophagy. Human insect eating is common to cultures in most parts of the world, including Central and South America, Africa, Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. 80% of the world's nations eat insects. However, in some societies, and maybe ours, insect eating is taboo. This is kind of a debate right now because insects are a really good source of protein, right? It could help us get the protein that we need without eating as much high energy production animals like beef and pigs and chickens and goats. And so it's kind of a debate. This is a good source of protein, doesn't take as much energy to grow these things, and then to use them for food. So how do you feel about insect eating? Who wants to say something about that? I'll tell you my experience after you tell me yours. Haha. Anybody have experience with this?
Good morning.
Morning?
So I have actually eaten some insects before. Like I remember I ate a cricket once. It was cooked. No, it's not the
Uh-huh.
raw one. And it doesn't feel as bad as you think it will. I mean, it was crunchy,
Yeah,
but it's not bad.
excellent. At the insect fair that Penn State does, thank you for sharing that. At the insect fair, you get the opportunity to do that. Yeah.
I ate insects in Thailand
Uh-huh.
as like street food for the experience. However, I don't think that I would do it regularly. For me, it was like a one and done thing.
Got
But-
it. You can say that you tried. Yes.
Hi. Firstly, I do not eat bugs, so I would be very against that, and that kind of creeps me out.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. To be quite honest, it creeps me out too.
Creeps.
As much as I am trying. Ashlyn, would you take the microphone up to Chris, please? Yeah.
I also don't eat bugs and I don't think that I would, but both my parents are vegetarian, so I wonder if like this would be something that they'd be open to trying or if they would see it as an animal too.
Interesting. That's a brilliant question. Let me know what you find out when you ask them.
I've eaten crickets twice in my life. My dad got them as a joke, so I've had salt and vinegar crickets and barbecue crickets. I wouldn't replace the meat in my diet with crickets, but it really wasn't that bad at all.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, my kids got them one time at a like small town football game concession stand, like cheese covered ones. I was like, okay, cool. But I'm struggling with it because it's something that I definitely want to try and I cannot quite get there yet. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. So many of us have been conditioned in some way to either like or not like, or fear or not fear, or sometimes even hate, right? Certain species on our planet. And in this case, talking about insects. So thinking back, if you have, well, I imagine that you have a position one way or the other. Where did that come from? Where did that story come from in your existence? Was there somebody in your world that shaped your view of these things? Somebody that you loved, right? That either also loved insects and encouraged you, like, my house, we take the spiders outside when we find them, or we leave them where they are because we figure that they're doing a good job, that they're there for a reason, right? So is there somebody in your life like that? Or is there, my grandmother was petrified of any kind of bug and always was killing things. So think about your experience. Where did your story come from? And then realize that you can change your story, right? Your story is your story. It can be based on those previous experiences, but you can choose. You can choose what to believe. You can choose what to feel. The more of the world I am in relationship with, the more alive I become. So how will you choose your relationship moving forward? We are all beings together in this community of Earth. Here's this fella, the Dalai Lama. He's a transcendent teacher, the Buddhist spiritual leader of the Tibetan people. And with that said, there are a lot of people around the world who are not Buddhist that follow what the Dalai Lama does and says, because he promotes basic human values and secular ethics in the interest of human happiness and peace for all on the planet. He fosters interreligious harmony and the preservation of culture, of peace and nonviolence. So some folks went to visit the Dalai Lama and they asked him, what is the most important thing to teach our children, the children of today? And the Dalai Lama replied, the most important thing is to teach them to love the insects. Teach them to love the insects. Talk to your neighbor about why that might have been his reply. What do you think? Who'd like to share? Teach them to love the insects. Of all the possible things he could say, why that? Ollie? Thank you, Ollie.
Well, I do think it's literal. I also think it's quite metaphorical. Like, if you can love the insects, like the smallest, most like inconsequential, quote unquote, creature, then you should have no problem like loving anything else and having empathy for other people and things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you have an opportunity to deepen your relationship with insects now. Each of your TAs has a cockroach. And you'll please listen to me just for a moment. When you are approaching the cockroaches, remember that they are living beings that are sensitive to the world around us in ways that we know and ways that we don't know. So if you are handling the cockroaches, please avoid sudden movements. Please speak softly and have respect. Don't force anyone to hold or touch the cockroach, but take a good look. All right, folks. So what's happening out there? Dropping the bugs. It's okay. All right, can anybody share?
One of them is like, it's gonna make to TikTok again. It's gonna make.
So can anyone share what happened for you? Any kind of new discovery? Anybody want to speak to an experience? Zach, do you have a microphone? Do you have a microphone, Zach? Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay. I would love to hear from somebody about an experience. Ashlyn, do you have the microphone still? Great. And Allie has one. Thank you. All right. Please listen to your classmates.
So I didn't hold one just because I'm a little scaredy cat, but I was kind of just describing like the second I saw everyone else like jumping around like and like screaming and stuff, like I like visibly like got really stressed and anxious and like my hands were sweating and stuff, but like it's just sitting next to me here and I'm like fine with this, but like the whole like touching and stuff and it moving around really freaks me out.
Yeah. So we have mirror neurons, right? So what happens in our brain when we see other people having a freak out about something is that because of our relational way of being human beings, our mirror neurons feel what those people are feeling. It's a deep sort of empathy. And so when you are freaking out, and then you talk to somebody else and they start freaking out, like it's a human way of being, but it also can go the other way. So being calm can help calm other people. And I think it's cool that you're just sitting there hanging out next to it. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that and giving us that opportunity to learn.
Jen.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Great.
I held the cockroach, and I think since I went into it kind of calmly and like being okay with holding it, it was kind of chill. Like it just sat there, it didn't really do anything. It was, yeah, and then it was like attached, like it wanted to stay. So
They can climb on glass. Their feet are so delicate and able to hold on. Cool.
Yeah, honestly, ours wasn't that bad. Like ours just kind of just chilled in our hand and like it wasn't too bad to like transfer. We actually kind of like pet it too.
Yeah.
Nothing really happened.
Cool. Again, as individuals, as individual people, we are different. And as individual cockroaches, they are different. I don't know where the microphone is. Just go ahead. Yeah, sweet. And you were very calm. It was lovely. And so opportunities for connection. Yes.
I was really reminded by like my childhood when I used to play with bugs when I was a kid, because my gut reaction was to go, ew, gross. Then I remember like they don't fight. They're very docile. So
Exactly. Fantastic. Enjoy. Go out there and live into your childhood. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you.
I really like